Oh yeah, I see it. Okay, yeah.
En français. So, it's,
Yeah, we are in France, of course. So
we are, and they do happen to speak French, and Thermite will be their ban. Now, this is interesting because a lot of times, as Wilkie pointed out yesterday, since DreamHack Valencia, teams have been banning Hibana because it's much easier to impact trick the exothermic charge of Thermite. But now Thermite being banned and Glass being banned means that we're going to rely a lot on Hibana, which means that the downstairs holds might be even more difficult, but the upstairs holds might be a lot easier because her 3x Kairos rounds don't open up as big of a hole in the wall as the exothermic charge does.
no, essentially banning that Thermite forces the enemy team into going for that Hibana, like you said, who doesn't create the bigger holes inside of the Thermite walls, typically such as the balcony at Cache. Also the Jacuzzi is another big one, but certainly being able to get open all of the free hatches downstairs does play into the favor of a Hibana, which is typically why we see earlier, I just want to take back to Team Vitality and Noah Rengo, where we did see the Hibana being banned on that occasion, and then for the downstairs attacks, we've seen a lot more Thermite plus Montagne kind of play, so yeah, certainly having that Hibana does force away from that kind of slower pace play style.
We'll start off in gym bedroom. I'm curious to see what FaZe tries to do with the Montaigne, because we saw them try to use him a couple times on Bank. Didn't really work at all. And after 3 rounds, they realized, After 1 round, actually, they said, They picked him for the next 2, and then 6 picked off of him. But this time, they're going to 6 pick onto an IQ, which means that the Monty is going to stick around. And on gym bedroom, there's narrow corridors for him to get through, especially construction, possibly even push him in. You know, if you can get that jacuzzi wall open up enough, you could possibly push him in through there and then, you know, try to isolate the person playing in bathroom. Once again, you have Gohan doing that. I'm interested to see what they do with him, because usually the path that a Monty will take is to work their way through the garage and then possibly get inside a cache and then just continue pushing from there. That's going to be something for me to watch. And like I said, it's already a very defender-sided map. We don't have to deal with Smoke nor Mira. So those are 2 pretty big operators that are going to be off the board. And immediately, Roguelike's running Echo. Here's Echo. Their coach, Ranger, has said that Echo might already have too much utility as he stands. And on Clubhouse, happens to be one of the few maps where the Supernova is brought out in place of the MP5.
Yeah, that's mostly due to the fact that Smoke did get banned out, so you don't have that same destructibility factor with the Smoke shotgun. And it's quite interesting to see both the Mira and the Smoke being banned out. You can't really get a better combo than both of them operators, so getting rid of both of them really does hinder both of the defenses. But FaZe, they did ban out that Smoke, so they're going to be at more of an advantage getting these early leads on the attack if they can push through. And it really does fit into the better playstyle whenever you're taking these shield operators, where smoke canisters are the biggest counter to your Montagne. Of course, Legion can do similar, but not really that big of an impact because it only does 8 damage a tick compared to the huge damage that smoke canisters can do. So certainly this is going to be more of a rogue battle in these early stages compared to what FaZe then have to do if they do get into, you know, a 3-2 in favor of FaZe, and then they have to go on the defenses. So it certainly could switch into Rogue's favor after these first 5 rounds.
Gio's going to get spotted playing inside of Logistics office. He's also got an ADS there. Slash will join him. He has a shotgun as well as the Bearing 9, and will try to go for the shotgun on to Gohan. Deals a substantial amount of damage. Gohan will lose about 60% of his health or so. But Gio's just waiting to see if somebody is going to try to circle. Faked rip to the Nitro Cell. Bandit Nitro Cell is something that we have seen a bit more of as of late after Bandit, of course, lost his 3rd barbed wire. He'll fake the rip again, and this sound is very obvious. Slash will waste himself as Moringa with the Bearing 9, both with the Bearing 9 out, but it will be Moringa who wins that fight, and he is next to no HP. Take a look at Gohan, Moringa, and Astro right now.
Yeah, certainly on pretty low health there, and like we talked about, Rogue peeking these hatches, doing these silly mistakes that are going to cost them rounds. It cost them rounds in Bank, so why do it again on Clubhouse? Yeah, sure, you might want to get an early lead and an advantage, but it has severely hindered you because you've lost your Echo drones, and that is going to be your only denial for the Montagne, where if the plant does go down, that is going to be the only way that you can stop it. So certainly a big misplay for Rogue. Equally, we did see the Dokkaebi getting taken out as well, so that's going to be an operator for FaZe off the board. But certainly we can still see the Montanya drop, but gets killed by Geo. Did he just drop his shield?
I don't know exactly what the reasoning was behind that, but Gohan drops and loses his shield. Obviously, not very happy about that, as you can see. Cameraman will buck through the soft wall and possibly go for a kill into that closet. It will go off as they have, of course, destroyed or at least taken care of the ADS on the other side of it. But Geo had scooted away. We've only got 20 seconds left in this first round here on Clubhouse, and FaZe Clan has taken a beating so far, and that will continue as Geo punishes Moringa, leaving just Cameraman and Mav left. And make that just Mav, as Cameraman will fall to easily. The LMG tears right through him. Mav gets a kill onto Big Brian, looks for a second, but these are impactless frags as Mav does grab a second, but can't get through the window into the building, can't get the diffuser, can't get a plant. No, sir. Rogue with round number 1.
Yeah, Rogue do start things off similar fashion to what they did do on Byte, taking the first round. But certainly, looking at the way that Rogue played that, silly mistake in the start, but then FaZe, the big choke from the Montanya just dropping down. We did try and see the potential nade come out from the Buck after Montanya had died. Why not do that? Whenever Montanya's dropping, you go for them frag grenades that makes Geo panic. It makes him either take the nade and die, or he runs out into the line of sight of Montanya, where then he can give the call out for another member to drop and shoot Geo as he runs away from the door. So certainly that was more of a FaZe choke than I would say Rogue in the earlier beginning, but nonetheless, Rogue, they get a good start, but I'm sure FaZe will get a couple more rounds. I don't expect to see this going for a whitewash in favor of Rogue.
I don't know exactly what Gohan was thinking dropping the way he did. Had they not even bothered to drone out the fact that Geo was playing there, because Gohan dropped and, I mean, he was somewhat facing Geo, but at the same time, that was really, none of that really should have happened with him dropping that shield, unless it was unintentional. Maybe it was a simple misclick or a fat finger and he just missed his gadget button. Who knows? That's something that we can obviously ask them about after the match is finished. For the time being, it looks like a pretty substantial misplay and caused Geo to not only get a kill, but a very high priority kill onto the shield operator that could have boxed Geo in. Or it could have been used to work their way through those single doors to get into Master, while the rest of the push from FaZe was coming through construction, which is where we saw Cameraman eventually wound up. Who knows exactly? Easily was there, and he played really well in the dying couple seconds and just left Mav in a position where he couldn't get into the actual site. So unfortunate for FaZe to start things off that way, but as we said, it is a more defender-sided matchup, so this is to be expected, and Master is a site that, along with CCTV, does typically see the defenders win, whereas the downstairs isn't quite as much of a bunker as it used to be. It's definitely one of the weaker sites now. So Master going in favor of the defense, not really that strange. We'll head back into the game, though, and Rogue up 1-0.
So Church and Arsenal Room is where Rogue will be headed. We know that that gym and bedroom is going to be locked out for them for at least 2 rounds, or even if they do win this, this potential bomb site, then they can go ahead and they have to go for the cash as well. So it's good getting that early gym and bedroom start, which is always good, because looking at compared to the cash and the server, it's probably, I would say, weaker compared to cash in my opinion. I don't know if that may be what you think, but certainly for me, I favor the cash over any other bomb site on Clubhouse.
I think CCTV cash is usually what would be described as most teams' #1 site to defend, and I mean, that's pretty standard, especially if Maestro still remains in action. He's usually a pretty powerful operator on that site. Coupled with either a Mute or a Jaeger, we'll usually see a lot of defense that will set up inside of the garage at the very top, in between all those metal slats and the metal railings, usually either with a Mute Jammer or maybe an ADS or 2. You know, and that's where you'll play. You'll reinforce all the garage, and as Wilkie pointed out yesterday, the biggest focus of a CCTV defense is usually to ensure that you don't lose garage control, because once you lose garage control, they have usually a clear line of sight through to the window that goes out to the little balcony over top of the kennels area, and then they can possibly hold off a rotation from the stairs as well. It's a very powerful position to be. Whereas when you're defending Gym and Master side, your investment usually needs to be in the construction side of things and in the office, but you don't have that same mobility that having the garage for CCTV and cache gives you. And that's why I think we do see a lot of teams prefer the CCTV and cache as the #1 bomb site, absolutely. That's likely where I'm expecting Rogue to go to as the second site, possibly to the basement. It really depends on where they feel more comfortable. The addition of the stairs into blue, of course, has made holding that part of the basement a much bigger hindrance for the defenders and allowed attackers to, possibly clear out blue, and then you can put some pressure on Church. And really, at that point, the defense are kind of pinned down in Arsenal. It's really tough.
Yeah, also you could talk about the addition of that blue stairs. Great rotation for the defenders, which they never had previously.
Right.
Looking at the way some teams have played it, it's been a big rotation point where a lot of attackers just forget it's there sometimes, and usually the defenders retake it really well, and they are able to move their way in towards the stock and try and kill somebody who may be lurking inside of the corridor using the doorways that you do have at your disposal, or even just simply pushing in the bar, getting the quick kills onto a Firmit who may be on his drone at this stage. So certainly the blue stairs can be a hindrance, but a big advantage if the attacking team is a lot weaker. But anyway, we will be jumping back into the game. It is going to be Rogue 1-0 up, and they will be on the defense, and they're going to go for the Church and Arsenal room defense.
So this is something we saw, I want to say we saw earlier today, if I recall, on Clubhouse. It was in the G2 NIP matchup. CCTV and cache was their third choice. So if you consider it to be the strongest site, the most conventional site here, if you can muscle out the first two sites, then that gives you potentially your strongest site third. Obviously, there's a risk with that. You can't go back to it as well. Because if you win it in the third round, it's locked for rounds 4 and 5. You don't have a shot of going back. So for me, Rogue probably don't see CCTV cache as being their best defensive site, because if you wanted to possibly play it twice, you wouldn't take it in the third round. We'll see what they can do with Church and Arsenal. They are running a castle, so I likely imagine that they will probably employ that castle in and around the site rather than possibly doing what you do on Oregon, which is going upstairs and expanding the site above. Probably going to wall off dirt and then see them maybe put it in blue as well. Who knows? It's really depends on where Slash or easily call for Brian to put down those barricades.
So Rogue, they have a big operator for this particular bomb site, which is going to be the Pulse. It is a great operator that can gather a lot of intel very quickly if you do play him in and around that Arsenal area, where he can simply sit right at the back. He can feed intel that if anybody comes into the kitchen, he'll know about it. Plus, he could possibly get a kill from as well. He can feed information onto the main stairs and even look into the bar as well. Construction is another thing he can see, so Pulse is a really good operator for this particular bomb site because he just brings the intel gathering factor that you really do need for Clubhouse, because there is a lot of potential ways that the attackers can play. You can go for the Church push, you can go for the kitchen drop, you can go for the blue take, even construction sometimes we've seen. So yeah, certainly figuring out where they're going to go is going to be a good factor for Rogue.
Now, the one thing that Hibana not being banned and a thermite ban will accomplish, as I mentioned it earlier on, it also allows you to get all 3 of those hatches upstairs. Usually those exothermic charges will be spared for 1 or 2 priority hatches and maybe for dirt, depending on how the attackers want to form their strategy around it. But having those 3 bursts of X-Kairos means that you're able to take care of all 3 of those reinforcements, the trifecta. As you can see, that is always on the main floor stock bar, and then kitchen as well. A vertical pressure combined with either a buck or a sledge in kitchen, which FaZe has plenty of opportunity to do so, as they are actually running both of them. And you can see that Astro working his way down the main stairs. Clubhouse is not the same that it used to be before, where you don't really need to drone it longer than 30 to 40 seconds. There needs to be a much bigger investment in your ability to pinpoint if anybody is playing offsite. And Astro will confront the very first castle barricade, get a couple hits in off of it, and possibly drone to see if there's anybody who's going to push. This could have potentially been a bait, and one thing that we could see, from Castle is, oh no, Astro accidentally throwing a smoke. Not exactly certain why. It looked like he tried to shoot it as well. I don't know what Astro's trying to accomplish there, but looks like it might have just simply been a mistake.
Yeah, a couple of fat fingers being here and there. It does happen, of course, occasionally, but that's going to be pretty big because smoke grenades are huge for those final pushes in towards the bomb sites. especially on a map like Clubhouse, where you need to smoke off these different angles that players like Rogue can hold. Whenever you have a player there in Easley who actually don't think he has the ACOG, he's still probably running the shotgun because of the lack of the smoke. And this is where I'm talking about Eclipse gathering that intel, missing that C4, however, doesn't catch anything with that C4, so that's going to be it going down, and 30 seconds to go, and FaZe and Rogue still no members off the board.
I still see that there's one logic bomb available as well, as Astro had done the first call, could possibly be sparing the second. Easily with those yokai drones means that not only will he not be called, but his 2 yokais will not be hacked either. Astro peeks around the corner and Brian takes him down. That's the second kill for Rogue. His go-on had been finished earlier, but Moringa is in church right now, trying to get the buck in through. Moringa will go for the plan and see if Cameraman can cover appropriately. But the Pulse is getting information for his team. He'll get pushed by the Echo. Easily is down. Big Bri gets Moringa. So we see ourselves at a 2v2 now as Mav finishes off Geo and primes a grenade to toss in. You can see some silhouettes. But there will be one push in through Mono. Cameraman is there. The C8 will tear through the Pulse. Big Bri is last one standing. What can Brian accomplish? He'll get the buck, goes for the defuse to bait out Mav. Does the sledge get there in time? He doesn't know. Does Mav know that the diffuser is going down? Brian will just stick it, and he manages to get it. Mav fed the wrong info and doesn't know, as Brian sticks the landing, gets the diffuser, and Rogue 2 in a row on a round that they probably shouldn't have walked away with a win from.
That's very, very puzzling for me. Mostly because Mav, whenever the diffuser did get planted, he used both of his frag grenades straight away. The diffuser wasn't even, I believe, ticked 5 seconds, and he threw his frag grenades. He should know, yeah, there's no way Rogue are going to try and defuse as soon as it gets planted. And whenever you have still another member hiding right beside the diffuser where you can hear if it starts getting diffused, then he could have sat in blue, held the frag grenade until the final quarter mark, then you toss your frag grenade. So I'm surprised that Mav just straight up threw his frag grenades, possibly in panic. Maybe he worried that somebody may be right beside the diffuser because his teammate did get killed, but that's certainly what I would say is the misplay from FaZe that really did cost him there in that circumstance.
It could have also been that the one round of Xkaros that was used by the Hibana opened up a small hole by the diffuser. If somebody was rotating around through the back of that church wall, or even, or well, the church bar wall technically, or the bottom of the stairs, if that frag grenade lands on the diffuser, its explosive radius is likely going to catch you on the other side, even with that little gap that was opened up by the Xkaros. Possibly could have been their strategy, possibly what Mav could have been attempting, but frag grenade or not, he still either received the wrong information or made the wrong call himself to not push and expect Brian to stick the defuse and manage to get it off right as Mav was within striking distance, giving Rogue the victory in the round. And now they will go up to CCTV. Would have been much stranger if we hadn't possibly seen them rely on bar stock here. So good to see them go with the site that they think, or we have typically seen as the #1 overall site.
Yes, we certainly were not expecting to see the bar. It would be interesting to see their playstyle if they did decide to go for it, because we haven't seen a whole lot of bar stock. Like you said, it's more of a North American kind of thing, where I wouldn't exactly say Rogue have been choosing that bomb site. But certainly the cache and the server room is going to be the main bomb site for Rogue here, as I'm sure they wanted to get the other two out of the way with. It gives them that early lead. They shouldn't have won Church and Arsenal, let's be real here, but of course certainly having the cache room available is going to help them quite a lot. Already, Astro inside of the construction tunnel is going to come in contact with Eclipse, a very deadly Jaeger, as he does have great gun skill behind him. He's just going to take a couple of pot shots, and then Astro is going to go for his droning phase, so this is certainly going to be the first early engagement we're going to be seeing.
It's a deep roam from Rogue right now, with Eclipse just trying to waste time, but knowing that dirt was free, it was an easy entry point. Astro just droning himself in. One thing we had seen on Bank was the coordination of Astro helping the rest of his teammates. That was a solo drone. He appears to have fallen off of dirt. So, an experiment that we will see no results from. Moringa in a position right now as he works his way in through Jim. Mav is droning for his team, so Moringa will sprint past him, and they can meet up at some point in construction and begin to put some pressure onto Cash. Now, I don't suspect that they'll be able to take construction that freely, as there is likely going to be somebody at least watching in that direction. It does appear that it will be Slash, as his sights are currently trained on that main doorway. 2 drones from FaZe will come in as Gohan's gets zapped as it tries to zap itself. But they do have the construction wall open, so they're looking in to see if the Bandit can peek, and oh no, Gohan's recoil will just go above the head of Slash, so Slash will survive that encounter before he takes refuge in by that counter. And then of course Slash trying to play a very tight angle. Somebody is going to get a very lucky shot as they do tussle through the doorway.
So we are going to be having the buck below. This gives FaZe a lot of things to work with. Primarily, it gets rid of the anchor positions that Rogue may have. Also, looking at Gohan, he's going to be looking to go for an early peek, but Cameraman, he misses his frag grenade and almost kills himself as well. As that was very, very lucky for Cameraman there not to get taken out. Certainly would have been a highlight moment that I'm sure Cameraman did not want to have. Astro gets the kill onto Eclipse, so 20 seconds to go, and Rogue are going to be on the downfall.
But 2 big kills from Rogue as one Cameraman doesn't watch where he's walking, steps right in. Mav and Gohan will add up, and that's the 3v2, and FaZe have managed to somehow take this one in their favor. But Mav very low on HP, Gohan trying to work as the plant goes down, but Geo shuts it down. Gohan and Mav last left standing. It's a 1v1, easily just needs to hide as the clock will strike 0. Need to go for a plant. He cannot fall off, but he does, knowing that it's a certainty that he will be found out from easily. That's 3 in a row for Rogue, and they have won every single defensive site. They can once again start that cycle anew. Probably going to see them go to bedroom and gym, and that's exactly where it looks like we will head.
I am very impressed with this Rogue side being able to defend 3 bomb sites in a row without a mirror and without a smoke. That is no easy feat to perform, so certainly Rogue, they are ready for this. They have adapted to the bans that did come out. Quite possibly they could have expected some of these bans. This could have been what Ranger has decided to look at, and really went in hard with his analyzation of the FaZe lineup. So yeah, certainly Rogue are looking very strong. I said I wasn't expecting to see a whitewash for Rogue, but this could be on the cards potentially unless FaZe do provide this comeback like they did on Bank.
We have a brief update for you, so if you're trying to avoid spoilers, please do plug your ears. On the Rainbow Six Bravo channel, the Immortals Element Mystic matchup is now concluded, and Immortals are all done at the Paris Major. Element Mystic will take the series by a score of 2-1. The Koreans will play the French tomorrow, as it will be Millennium versus Element Mystic for the final spot from Group C. As for this matchup, in just a couple moments, I assume we will get underway with Team Secret versus Orglis, where the loser of this matchup will face the winner of that one. At the moment, Rogue looks like they're in good position to possibly take map number 2. They're halfway there. They need to get to 6 on what we have agreed is a defender-sided map. It stands to reason that Rogue would have taken 3 so far. It also means they can't lose the half. At worst, they will come out of this 3-2. But obviously, as with every single map, and I said this exact phrase on Coastline, you want to run up the score. Because if you don't, and you find yourself on the other side of it, and your opponents run up the score, well, then you lose, and your day is done.
Yes, essentially what happened on Bank. Rogue had the great start, and then all of a sudden, FaZe just comes out all guns blazing and just takes round after round from Rogue. We could potentially see the same thing, but if Rogue go 4-0 up, I'm feeling that Rogue are going to have a lot more confidence going into then their attacking round. So certainly Rogue, they're going to be feeling good if they get this defense. And just talking about the defense, they're going to be playing more of a heavy anchor. There's only going to be really one roamer. I wouldn't say roamer, it's more of an offsite anchor, which is going to be the Jaeger inside of the construction area. But again, he can just rotate back in the site as easily as he can rotate out of it. I'm sure that Rogue probably have the same kind of setup that they had last time, with Geo playing inside of the office area, trying to bandit trick the double walls, which is going to be the case. He does have a bit more support this time, so certainly it's going to make things a lot easier. But FaZe, they should have adapted by now to know exactly what Rogue are going to do. A bit of trouble there for Mav, trying to get the Legion Mine, but can't really find it. Moringa has gotten himself inside of the construction. There you go, Mav. That's it. Go inside and get it. It's a lot easier, but nonetheless, it is going to be this this frag that's going to come out momentarily, and it is going to nail its target this time as Geo does fall. I'm surprised Geo was not ready for that. He did try and rotate to the other side of the brick wall, but that did not work, so that does allow then FaZe to start their staging ground eventually to push in towards that office area, and a couple of members of Rogue are going to have to rotate out and fall back.
It did look like we were about to see an execute from FaZe here as they pushed into construction together. As well, right before that frag grenade landed at Geo's feet, you could hear a couple flashes go off to waste the ADS, and that was the reason why Geo wasn't able to do too much. I don't know why Mav seems to be having some difficulty as he'll look through the floor just to see if there's somebody playing in any vertical space whatsoever. But only 40 seconds left, and FaZe, like sharks in the water, are starting to circle. You've got Astro looking all the way in towards Master, looking into the showers, which is where Easily is playing. Of course, he's going to be sheltered in there on his Evil Eye cams. He'll also be able to battle back from what is a pretty decent amount of distance with that LMG's ACOG on top of it. There you go, you can hear it. But Mav is going to get just a couple shots in through the wall as Gohan may join him. Astro, his smokes will get eaten. That is a very valuable smoke grenade that is not going to be available. Slash gets the first kill to start this fracas as we have just 10 seconds left. Easily will counterpunch, and that's one for Slash as well. Astro trying to go in. Mav, last man standing, but he will be felled. And this is 4 in a row for Rogue right now. What a commanding performance on this map, and what a reversal from what we saw on Bank.
Yes, the bounce back that we talk about so much. Look at the G2 Mocket game. Who would have thought that Mocket would then go ahead and just 6-0 G2 on Villa? So certainly it does happen more often than we think. But then again, it's still all to play for. There's still potentially only 2 rounds, but FaZe can change that. It's still very feasible for FaZe to possibly win this round. Gives them 4-1, has momentum behind the round, and then all of a sudden they get these defenses, and then they could really put the pressure onto Rogue, who then could struggle with the attack. So it certainly could go either way. We've seen it a lot where teams, once they flip, they just lose it. We've seen 5-0 leads come back, and teams have lost 7-5, 7-6. It does happen quite a lot inside of the competitive play, but then that all just revolves around the mindset of the teams.
I mean, if we want to try to speculate about Rogue's staying power, they found themselves in a position where they were 1 round away from knocking Team Secretly out yesterday, before Secretly mounted a pretty nice comeback. Forced Rogue to have to take it to overtime, where Rogue ultimately did end up winning 2 of those 3 rounds and got themselves the series clincher on Coastline, and what was a pretty heart-stopping finale between the 2 teams. Secretly, of course, or Team Secret will now have their hands full playing against Orgless. But as for Rogue, I mentioned mental fortitude when describing G2 earlier on, and Rogue is a team that, of course, like every other team, comprised of human beings. There are emotions behind the players, but typically Rogue is capable of keeping a level head. They have mature players who have been around an awful lot, up there with Evil Geniuses for one of the most experienced and practiced teams on LAN, who have been in this environment countless times over the last 2 years. Whereas FaZe is definitely a team that finds themselves in very similar position with, I would probably say, a higher penchant for emotion than Rogue has. Anywho, final round of the first half and the first split. We're going to be defending downstairs. And you've got Geo playing in Garage. Looked like he just tried to get a couple warning shots into Mav. That buffed distance of the Jackal will give away Geo's position, and he will need to head for the hills. He's going to go through blue and manage to find his way back to the safety and security of the site. All 5 members of Rogue playing downstairs now. This is what we're used to seeing from Clubhouse way back in the day before its changes. It was one of the very few sites where every single member could fit comfortably within the walls of both the church and Arsenal, even possibly playing in dirt, which is where Easily as the Echo is playing, and a safe bet to be in dirt because you're probably not going to use the Hibana on the dirt tunnel because you need them elsewhere.
So FaZe are going to start using their utility, start getting in their buck to primarily rip open that kitchen floor, gets rid of Eclipse primarily, but equally Eclipse could get himself a free kill if Buck is going to be unsuspecting. Hibana, like you said, is going to come in, get rid of the hatches quite comfortably, but just coming back to the point that we said earlier, FaZe, they have to be ready for the blue. They have to be ready for that rotate. They have to make sure there's going to be a player stationed there. even if he's just putting pressure on the blue, it means that Rogue know, yeah, we can't rotate up there because there's going to be somebody watching that. Cameraman does use a frag grenade, use both of his frag grenades to get rid of the castle barricade. The only way that they really can get rid of it, because they don't have an Ashe or Sophia, even the sledge, they don't have that. So using these grenades is going to be good, and that's a really big pick for Gohan on the Twitch drone, is getting rid of the Echo. So that's going to deny Rogue that potential plant stop, but still a minute to go, and Rogue and FaZe, we've seen this before. No kills, but typically Clubhouse is kill frenzy in the final 30 seconds.
Almost like a slaughterhouse with still plenty of time on the clock to reset. Cameraman, the buck will get back up. There's still one Yokai in play. Looked like he was playing over by Blue. Slash will actively bandit trick the bar wall into Church, which means that Moringa, who has 0 of his ex-Kairos left, will not be able to open anything else up. This is going to make the job for FaZe a lot more difficult, as they're going to use the vertical play that they have from both the buck as well as the shotgun from Mav that had opened the holes earlier on to see if there's anybody playing beneath Kitchen. But no. Very smartly, Rogue has managed to evade the gazes of FaZe. And as smokes and the phone calls go out, here comes the execute. You'll see one traded off for one as 2 kills for Rogue, 3 kills for Rogue. Gohan will get into the fray, and Plant will need to go down. But just 5 seconds left. Gio will get the final kill as Gohan walks right into one of the goo mines. You said it tends to be a frenzy, and that's indeed what it was. Within the span of 7 seconds, every single kill happens, and that is Rogue with a perfect first half. They only need 1 round over the next 5 here on attack to put Clubhouse behind us and move us towards the tiebreaker map and border.
So this is where FaZe don't want to be. They don't want to rely on this particular comeback, and especially a map like Clubhouse where it can happen. Also, just to remind you, this is going to be FaZe's tactical timeout. They're going to recalibrate what they want to do. It's not looking too good at the moment for them. Still have a chance, as there's always a possibility. Anything can happen inside of Rainbow Six Siege. It's been the motto since the beginning that you cannot just predict everything that happens, unless you're wealthy with map bans, but that's another story to dive into as well.
the man's he's a prognosticator.
He's pretty smart.
There's habits behind what teams ban what, right? I mean, it depends on the size of your map pool. There's a couple pretty obvious selections. A lot of teams for quite a stretch of time would consistently ban Consulate against Penta, but it got to the point where Penta wasn't really playing, Consulate at the time. Now as G2, we still really haven't gotten to see them do much on Consulate. Both when they were known as Continuum and now Evil Geniuses, Chalet was almost always a must-ban for them as well. Just as FaZe, when they were known as Font, would routinely ban Skyscraper every single time. These were just maps that they never ever played, and there's the pattern there. So you can go and look and say, well, there's a pretty high statistical probability that this team is going to ban this map based upon every other previous map ban phase that they've done. I don't think today's the day that they're just all of a sudden going to be like, you know what? We're not going to necessarily ban this map. Of course, a lot of teams will hide strats on maps, so if they are going to all of a sudden surprise us with a map that they don't usually ban, it would probably be on LAN in the quarterfinals, semifinals, or even finals, depending on how good a team does.
That's one thing that everybody said about G2. They lost Villa 6-0 to Market, but who knows? That could be just the whole beat and switch that G2 may be going through themselves, where teams may look at that Villa and think, oh yeah, G2 really weak and Villa getting beat by Market, but all of a sudden G2 are just like, yeah, we're going to stick to you because that wasn't our real strategies for Villa, which I'm sure that's something that G2 certainly would do because they're very tricky like that, and they're very, very thinkful like that. They have players like Fabian, who's very adaptable in them circumstances. Of course, Shaz is going to be a big part of the G2 lineup as well, so he could have had a big say into them. I'm going to put quotation marks throwing the match, but who knows really what G2 were thinking besides themselves.
I mean, I said earlier that Fabian tweeted that, it was like a 2,000 IQ play, that they deliberately got 6 out on Villa so that they wouldn't show strats, yada, yada, yada. I don't necessarily agree with that. For somebody who hates losing as much as Fabian does, I don't think part of his master plan is to deliberately lose a match without winning a single round. But who knows? Maybe we'll see them pick a Villa if they make it into the semis or possibly even the finals, as they have guaranteed their spot in the quarters. If you're going to save it, that would be the opportunity to do so. On FaZe's first defense, they're going to go downstairs. They're going to start off on Church. They might only get one crack at defense, so they better make it count. And right now, Rogue is going to be invested quite heavily in ensuring that there's no real roamers. And as was mentioned on Clubhouse, typically you need to spend a little bit more time to ensure that there's nobody playing off-site with the recent changes.
So Rogue are going to be entering in through the bedroom on the top floor, just clearing out the rumors if there would have been any lurking upstairs, which there is not going to be. You have players there like Geo, who has been performing very, very well on the Sophia particularly. It's quite strange because yesterday he was doing really well on the Ying, so maybe just because of the map, he has to switch his operator lineup. Slash is going to be on that Ying. However, Ying was let through, which is another big operator for this particular map because it gives you a strong pushing force in towards potentially the Arsenal room or even into the bar. Ying can be very useful as well. Some of the hatches as well aren't even going to be reinforced, so that's just going to give Rogue a free Habana pellet to use on something else, so they could use it on the kitchen and then use it on the church wall. Use two of them on the church wall if they want to go for that as well. So a bit of a misstep there by FaZe. So certainly it could be a good advantage for Rogue. And with 55 seconds to go, where the time's starting to tick down, certainly these C4s on the side of FaZe, particularly Mav, and some of the Legion traps could come in to bite Rogue in the behind.
I can't even think of where FaZe would have put those extra reinforcements because usually there's a pretty default strategy here. It doesn't appear that they placed many of them on the corridor whatsoever at the bottom of the main stairs leading all the way to Arsenal, so could just simply have been a very big mistake. If FaZe is tilted and angry, then this could simply just be that showing up because you don't usually miss those sorts of details. There's only 20 seconds left, and we're going to be heralded this push by the Candelas going off. Slash will erupt through the hatch, but FaZe will answer it miraculously with Mav and Moringa getting two. Slash just bursts right in. He'll see two himself, and a big double for the Ying. This is a 3v3 now. They're going to have to get that diffuser down. Geo will hop in too. Moringa will need to try to work his way out of dirt. Can he fight his way out? Astro will get one, but diffuser goes down successfully. Moringa absorbing an awful lot of damage, makes it out of dirt tunnel, but inside of Arsenal will have his work cut out for him. He looks to see if there's a body still alive and blue with Astro working his way around, but Geo is there, and Moringa, the ghost of Moringa, will not be able to do it. That is a perfect 6-0, the second that we have seen today after G2's 6-0ing of Ninjas in Pajamas, and Rogue will now head to the tiebreaker map with a lot of wind at their sails.
Yeah, looking very strong for Rogue. The quick bounce back from the 6-0. Not an easy feat, especially against a team like FaZe, who is a very, very strong team. They have always been extremely strong. Maybe, yeah, sure, their LAN play hasn't been as strong compared to the other Brazilians in the league, but still, nonetheless, they're very